Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 112 in the series Viewers Games. It is the turn of Mr. Tomshi, a faithful viewer who often contributes in the comment section. But first, let's look at a comment from another viewer. It was Matt Backwith who wrote, "I'd like to suggest an endgame to analyze. It's in a recent Banter Blitz championship match between Carlsen, and in one of the early games in the match, Carlsen says, 'Oh, I guess he doesn't know endgames very well,' and it was totally over my head." And I replied, "Can you please be a bit more specific? Which endgame?" Then, as you can see, Matt sent me the link, and I say, "Thanks for the link. I watched the clip, and after rook f6, black wins white's last pawn. I think the material is a bit too dry for my liking to make a full video out of it. I prefer to bring a bit more entertainment value. What I'll do is add a brief analysis of the rook endgame at the end of the Viewers Game video this Sunday. Please keep an eye out for it." So we'll have a look at that endgame at the end of this video, but Magnus Carlsen can wait. First, it is the turn of Mr. Tomshi, who writes, "Hi Rick, I've just finished watching your video Viewers Game. Was the last move a blunder on YouTube? Enjoying it as I have enjoyed all of your output since Chess to Impress started. I recently commented on one of your videos to say how much I enjoy in particular the series on resignations in winning positions, and would add that I also love when you go over a viewer's game. I haven't sent in a game until now because I could not find one that was instructive in any way. Then I thought of the game I'll attach to this email. There's a lesson in the background. The game was played online at Stan's Net Chess, which is a correspondence type site. It's a bit of an old-fashioned compared to the likes of Lead Chess, where I also play, but I've been playing there for almost 20 years now and still enjoy it. I first played my opponent in this game in a game started in July in the year 2000, and up to this game we had played 27 times over 17 years. I had managed 2 draws and 25 losses in that time, but enjoyed playing him and the chat that goes with correspondence chess. Here in Scotland we have the tale of Robert, the Bruise and the Spider, the moral of which is, if at first you don't succeed, try, and try again. Thanks for your time and for the effort you put into your videos. It is very much appreciated. All the best from Terry, Mr. Tomshi on YouTube. So let's call him Terry from now on. And Terry was black in this game. His opponent that he lost so many times to went under the name of Seelenjäger and had a rating of 2666 on this correspondence site, Stan's Net Chess. Mr. Tomshi himself had a rating of 2410, so 250 points less than his opponent. Very high ratings. But I don't think we should compare their ratings to the FIDE ratings. I don't think these two players play at Grandmaster level with respect. Let's have a look at the game. Seelenjäger opened with e4, and our hero, Mr. Tomshi, Terry, played g6. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop c4, e6, d4, d6, white castled, and Terry plays the modern defense, a6. c3, blunting the bishop on g7. That's now biting on granite. Knight f6, e5. That pawn was taken and white took back with the knight. Knight b to d7, f4, and Terry castled. The queen's knight went to a3 and b5. Nice move, kicking the bishop. And when the bishop moves, this pawn will also prevent the knight from coming into the game through c4. Bishop back. Terry developed his bishop. The opening is more or less over and black has achieved full equality. That was already an achievement against a player that Terry lost so many times to. Queen e2 and c5. And here bishop e3 is a good normal move, finishing development, connecting the rooks, and the position is about equal. But white drops a bomb in black's position. Instead of developing the bishop, he takes on f7. What a move. And Terry has to be careful, don't take with the king, because then the game is over and that is another loss against the same opponent. This is checkmate. And Terry saw that, of course, and took with the rook. Bishop takes e6, The combination looks correct, but the engine doesn't like it, thinks that black is better, as we'll see. Queen e8, bishop takes f7 is check. That's important, because otherwise the queen would be hanging on e2, is not protected there. But because black is in check, he cannot play that move. He took with the queen, and from a materialistic point of view, the sacrifice has worked well. White has rook and 2 pawns for 2 minor pieces. But positionally, black is doing well. White is not developed and has a useless knight on a3. That piece is really not doing anything. It's out of the game. And white played f5, ignoring the positional aspects of his position, and he tries to open up a file for his rook. But you cannot win with just queen and rook and the other pieces still far away from the action. I guess the bishop on c1 is doing something, but definitely the rook on a1 and the knight on a3 are not taking part in this game. Rook e8 from Terry. Attacking the queen, queen stepped aside, and c takes d4. White took on g6, queen takes, and the queens came off the board. And here white really should have developed his bishop, either to d2 or to f4. But black is better, even then. But here white blundered. He took on d4, completely oblivious to the fact that black has now a winning attack with his minor pieces and his rook. White lost his sense of danger here. And Terry found the best move, knight g4, exclamation mark, great move. And now bishop takes d4 is a huge threat. Let's look at one variation. If you play bishop d2, then bishop takes d4 check, king h1 and rook e2, and there's nothing to do against bishop takes g2, which would be checkmate. So that's the threat. And here white recognized that, and after knight g4, he played rook d1 to protect the pawn on d4. But Terry took on d4 anyway. Exclamation mark, good move. You cannot take on d4. Why not? Mate in 1, do you see it? Yes, rook e1 and the game is over. And this is an illustration of why white really should have developed the bishop, so that the rook on a1 would at least do something, cover the back rank. So after bishop takes d4 check, you cannot take that bishop, and white stepped aside with the king. Another powerful move, rook e2, and all 4 white pieces are on the queen side, looking on as the white king gets annihilated. The threat is bishop takes g2, which would be checkmate, and there's really nothing against it. White played rook g1, but then there's another checkmate, a smothered mate on f2, and that was the last move of the game. Terry says, the fact that I finally managed to beat Seelenjäger makes me prouder of this game than I am of any other. And it was a wonderful game indeed, Terry. You could have tortured your opponents. Let's look at one more nice variation. Bishop takes g2 check works anyway after rook g1. Rook takes rook e1 check. The rook has to go back. And then rook takes g1 is also checkmate. But that would be bad taste. After rook g1, if there's a mate in 1, then you have to play it. And Terry played it and had finally beat his opponent Seelenjäger. And is rightly very proud of it. Well played, Terry. Great game. Thank you very much for sharing it so I could share it with the Chess to Impress community. And after all that excitement, let's look at an endgame from the world champion. He played in the Banter Blitz championships from Chess24. I think Carlsen is a partial owner of Chess24 now. In the first round, he played against the Argentinian 21-year-old Grandmaster Alan Pichot. And in the first game, they reached this endgame where Carlsen is black and Pichot is white. Black has an extra pawn, but all pawns are on one side of the board. This is a theoretical draw, but not that easy. Carlsen mentioned here that it was Yu Yangyi who won this endgame against the Russian Grandmaster Nikita Vitugov in the recent World Cup. So he was not going to give a draw. Carlsen played a very nice move here, king h5. Is he not just dropping the pawn on h7? It can indeed be taken, but then there is king g4, winning the g3 pawn. If you, for example, play rook g7, then black wins, rook takes, king f2, and the other pawn goes, and the g6 pawn is protected by the rook. Rook h7 check, king g4, rook g7, king f4. There are no more checks, and black is going to win with his 2 connected passed pawns. So let's go back. If you take on h7, then king g4, and what you have to do here with white is play rook h6, very important move. So that after rook takes g3 check, king f2, you don't lose the pawn on h4, that pawn is protected, and you still have drawing chances. Pichot saw all this, and after king h5, he did not take on h7, he played rook a4. Carlsen played rook e3, a waiting move, king f2, rook to e4. You cannot swap the rooks with white. Rook takes e4, f takes e4, king e3 and king g4, and this is a winning king and pawn endgame for black. King takes e4, king takes g3, and black wins easily. So after rook e4 you cannot swap the rooks. Rook a7 was played by Pichot, h6 now from Carlsen, and rook a6. Here Carlsen mentioned white is really playing with fire, but he did not have the time to explain why he thought that was the case. I presume he meant that king f3 or rook a3 were better moves, as given by the engine. But rook a6 does not spoil everything yet. Rook b4, another waiting move from Carlsen, king f3. Carlsen gave a check, king g2, another check, king back, and rook to b4. King g2, and now Carlsen pushes the pawn, g5. H takes, and now white has to be careful. The engine says that white can still make a draw, starting with rook a2. Carlsen in the Banter Blitz broadcast started the sentence saying king h3, but could not finish the sentence because both players only had seconds on the clock. And black blundered here. I guess after king h3 he might have played rook b2, which is threatening checkmate with g4. That would have been a nice checkmate. But white can still play g4 himself. And then black only has one legal reply. F takes g4, king g3. And the engine thinks that this endgame is still within the drawing margin. But after h takes g5, white blundered. He played rook f6. And that's where Carlsen made a comment that the endgame is not Pichot's strongest part of his game. He immediately saw that he's winning now, because black is winning the last white pawn. King g4, protecting the f5 pawn, and now the pawn on g3 is lost. Rook f8 was played by Pichot, and Carlsen picks up the g-pawn in instructive fashion. King f1, rook b3, king f2, and first give a check. Very important, because if you take the pawn straight away, if you never have seen this, then put the video on pause and see how white can make a draw now. He can do that with rook takes f5, very nice shot. Winning a pawn back, because if you take the rook, then the black rook is hanging and this pawn endgame is a draw. Carlsen played it correctly, first gave a check, king e2, and now he can take on g3, and the f5 pawn can now not be taken because the rook on g3 is not hanging. And Alain Pichot resigned in this position, and Carlsen had the first point on the board and went on to win this match, I think by 9 points to 3. That rook f6 mistake is a thing to remember, very instructive. Thank you, Matt, for pointing me towards this game, and I hope you enjoyed the brief analysis of this rook endgame. And then we have this position, which is Rick against the Chess to Impress viewers. I played on the 18th move the rook from a1 to a2 last Sunday, and it was your turn. Let's see what you came up with. 15 viewers submitted a move that was quite a bit less than the week before, but the move the week before was a lot easier, taking on b6. 15 brave souls studied the position and came up with a move. Knight f6 to d7 is the winner. It was voted for 5 times, closely followed by the knight going to h7 instead, with 4 votes. The knight was busy, it went to h5 twice, bishop e7 was voted for once, queen c7 once, g5 with a draw offer was also voted for once, and one viewer wanted to sacrifice on h3. He said he wanted some action, but also added that he didn't think that his sacrifice would make it. And indeed, knight f6 to d7 is your move. Let's put it on the board, knight f6 to d7. Last week I said I wanted to gang up on your a-pawn, and I said I would play rook f to a1, and after your move I'm still sticking with that move, putting pressure on the pawn on a6. I'm attacking it now with both rooks and with my bishop on e2, and it's only defended twice. So what are you going to do? Are you going to defend that pawn again, or are you going to give it up? I'm looking forward to seeing your 19th move. You can take part in this game by putting your move in the comment section underneath this video. By doing that, you will be in the raffle. At the end of the game, I will raffle a chess book made available by my sponsor, The Best Is At, amongst the viewers who have taken part in this game. I'm looking forward to seeing your entries for your 19th move for black in this position. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. If you would like your game to be analyzed on Chess to Impress, you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.